Take these push pins out. Just use a trim tool. Just get underneath. Pry this out a little bit. And it pops off. Down in the back here, if you just slide the grill out a little bit, there is some clips. You need to squeeze these clips. You can either use some needle nose pliers. If you have a pick, you might be able to use a pick. And just slide down in here. I'll show it a little bit better once it's out. Then you squeeze just slightly, and then you just pull the grill at the base, slide it out. There's another one halfway down. Do the same. Another one on the other side, and then another one down here. You can just slide the grill out. This is what those clips look like. They just need to be squeezed, just like that. So when you squeeze it, then you can slide it out. You want to take a look underneath the bumper, see if there's any push pins or screws under the vehicle. On this vehicle, we don't have any. This screw just doesn't go to anything, but double check that. Everything should be loose under here. We're going to take the radiator cap off. Just make sure the engine is cool before you do this. You want to make sure there's no pressure in the system. You can always grab a hose and give it a squeeze. That's good. Set that aside. I'm going to remove the wheel so that I have more access. Use a 17mm socket. Take these lug bolts out. When you get to the last one, just hold the wheel on. And grab the wheel and slide it off. There's a bolt right here. Use a T30 socket. Take that bolt out. There may be another bolt over here. Take that one out as well. It should be the same size. There's all these push clips around the inner fender well. I'm going to take those out. Sometimes you can use a Phillips head screwdriver. Unscrew the center part, and then just use a trim tool and pop out the rest. Take all those out. Take these out next. Here. Take this one out underneath here, just the same way. And then there is a 10mm nut here. It's just a plastic nut. You want to take that off. Just using a 10mm socket. You can slide that off the stud. Grab the inner fender well. Slide it down. On the driver's side, the washer bottle is going to be in your way. The passenger side, you shouldn't have any problem. To disconnect this connector, the easiest thing to do is just twist to the left, just slide the whole socket out, and you can push down on this little tab and just slide it off, just like that. You can push this back into the light assembly. Just leave that there for now. If there's a push pin right here, you want to remove that. Just use a trim tool. It's connecting those two pieces together. There's a push pin right here. Use a trim tool and take that off. Just kind of separate the center. And pop that out. Should separate a little bit right there. You can disconnect this light right here. Just push down on the tab, slide that off. There's two tabs right here that are pushed into the bumper. You want to separate those. You can use a straight blade screwdriver or a trim tool. Just get under those. Put a little bit of pressure on this, pushing forward, and you should be able to get that to separate. Like that. On the inside of this trim, there is these push clips or push pins. The easiest way to prevent these from breaking is just taking some needle nose pliers and just giving it a squeeze. Just slide those out like that. You can do that to all of them. There's about 7 of them. Go around. Just pull them out while you squeeze it. And 2 more. And the whole piece slides right out. And we'll take this bolt out here, use a T25 socket. Remove that bolt. After you get that out, you can do the exact same procedure on the other side. Take these screws out. You're going to use a T25 Torx bit. And grab the bumper, and it'll slide right forward. If you're doing just the radiator and you don't need to recover the refrigerant from the condenser, what you can do is take this metal bumper off. There is 3 nuts on here. You want to take those off. And then on the back side of the lower part, there's a bolt there and a bolt there and a screw right there that screws into that plastic. It's broken on this vehicle. So if you take that off first, then you can take the condenser off and move it out of the way, so then you can access the radiator. You don't actually have to recover the refrigerant to do this. You leave all those lines attached. In this video, we're going to take the condenser off and take those off because we already recovered the refrigerant. I'm going to remove this line right here, use a T30 socket, take this screw out. There's no refrigerant in the system, but it's always a good idea to wear safety glasses when you're doing this. Just want to crack the line free a little bit. You might hear a little bit of a vacuum. A little bit of a vacuum, and we'll do the same on this lower one. that bolt out. And slide that out of the way. We'll take this screw out, the two on top. Use a T25 socket. Bracket right there. Slide that bracket out. Then grab the condenser, slide it up, and you can slide it out. Underneath the car, you may have a panel right here that you may have to take off. This vehicle doesn't have it. There'll be some fasteners, just take those out. And then you can access the lower radiator hose right here. This vehicle does not have a drain on the radiator, so we have to pop off this hose here. Or if you want to drain the coolant another way, you can come over to this side and pop it off there. It might be a little bit easier there, but we'll just go right here using some hose clamp pliers. Squeeze the hose clamp. Just try to move it down. And just grab the hose, give it a twist. Make sure you have a drain bucket underneath here while you're doing this. And pull the hose off. Nice and slow. Use some hose clamp pliers, squeeze this, and then slide the hose off. Take this 10mm bolt out, use a 10mm socket. Now grab the reservoir, and you want to tip it like you're twisting it towards the car a little bit, and just slide it up. There is a little push tab that goes into a rubber grommet down below, so that's why you twist it out and slide it up. Now you can just set this aside. Now we're going to take these two hoses off, use some hose clamp pliers. Take this upper hose off, you just squeeze the hose clamp. A little tricky to get to. You could use some needle nose pliers if it works for you. And slide that off, set that aside. And then the radiator hose. Just squeeze the clamp. Slide that down. And if you can, twist it a little bit. Sometimes that helps. You can always get a pick in there. And slide that hose off and out of the way. Now grab the radiator. There's a couple clips right here. You can use some needle nose pliers, just squeeze those clips together and slide it off. Or you can use a screwdriver. Same with this side. And grab the radiator and just slide it up and out. Might lose a little coolant. And it slides right out. We're going to need to remove this bracket, transfer it over to the new one. Use a T25 socket. Take that screw out. And take this bracket off. Just wiggle it back and forth. Slide it off. And just slide it on. Then take the screw, line it up. And just snug it down. Now slide the radiator in, same way it came out. Just kind of angle it down. Make sure where the hose goes through that little wall right there. There's a little hole. Line this up. Get that lined up. Just lock it down. Now we're going to put the upper radiator hose on. Just line that up and slide it on, and then use the hose clamp pliers, slide that hose clamp over where the radiator is. It's a little bit tricky. Just like that. That looks good. Then take this hose. It's gonna go over there. Slide that on and squeeze those hose clamps. And slide it on the rest of the way. That's good. Now slide the reservoir in place. Slide these 2 feet in first, and then rotate it down. Take this hose, slide it on. You can use your hose clamp pliers. That looks good. I take the lower radiator hose, line it up, and take the clamp. Slide the hose clamp back in position. Good. If you have a shield that goes right here, now would be the time to put that back and put the fasteners back in. And slide the condenser in place. You can line the hoses up now. You can lubricate the hoses with some AC oil. Helps them go in a little easier. And slide the brackets on. Get the screws started. And tighten those down. Just snug, not too tight. And put the bolts in for the hoses, or the lines that go in, up top and down below. Then we'll tighten those down. Now line the bumper cover up. Get that all lined up. Looks good. and get these lined up. And snug it down. Try to snug it down in the same place it was when you took it off. And line this up, put this bolt in. Snug it down. Connect the fog light or the parking light. Line that up. And just clip it in place. This wire is going to go to the side marker over here. Now take this cover and line it up. You can push the clips in once they're lined up. And then this front piece is going to clip in right there. It's all pushed in. Looks good. And if you have a push pin, you want to push that through right there. Secure those two panels together. You can connect the connector for the light, lock it down. Now take this inner fender well and line it up. Now take all the push pins and just go around and push those in place. Kind of push them in a little bit. You can twist them a little, makes it a little easier. Just put those all back. Put this plastic nut back in place. Snug that down. And this bolt goes right here. Snug that down, and if you had another bolt, put that in. And you can repeat the procedure for the other side. Put the wheel on, line it up. Put the lug bolts in. Now I'm going to torque the lug nuts to 110 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Take the grill, line up these tabs down below with the slots. Make sure they're all lined up. And then lock those in place. And put the push pins in. Push those down. Now you want to fill up the reservoir with coolant, the appropriate coolant that goes with the vehicle. You can start the engine, run it for about 10 minutes. After that, after it's nice and warm, shut it down, let it cool down, and then adjust the level, top it off if you need to, and then you should be good to go. If you're having trouble getting the coolant to go down, there is a bleeder right here. You can use a straight blade screwdriver. This is right next to the engine, right next to the valve cover. Open that up just a little bit, and you'll hear a little bit of air coming out, and you can notice that the coolant level is dropping. And then just close it back up. At that point, you can start the vehicle, run it for about 10 minutes. When it warms up, then shut the vehicle down. When it cools down, adjust the coolant level again. And you can put the cap back on.